going to start in about 1 minute. So again, you can grab a pillow. Nice to use a pillow that you love from your bed, or you could use just a throw pillow from your couch. Grab a washcloth. Hi, Peter. Great to see you. And I'm taking your suggestions for the audio, Peter. If you guys use a blanket, we can, hi Monica, so great to see you. If you guys like a blanket, grab a bath towel if you don't have a blanket. And the pillow's just for weight. So pick a pillow that's kind of big. I'm using a meditation pillow, but you could use a pillow from home. But it's got some weight to it because we're going to be placing it on the belly, which is sort of soothing in these times. All right, guys, it's time to start. All right, so we're going to start seated. If you have the benefit of having a wall close by, you might also just have the edge of a couch. You can sit there. If when you're seated, I'll show you from the side view, if when you're sitting your knees rise up and your spine rounds backwards, sit up on something, right? Maybe that pillow that you grabbed, a bath towel, a blanket. Slide your hand behind your low back. If it's touching the wall, lean forward, clear the buttocks so that when you sit back upright, there's a little bit of space there. And then close your eyes, drop inside, drop into the present moment. Drop into the now. The now is the only thing that ever really is happening. We're always in this now, but our attention will shift. And right now what's happening a lot is that we're shifting towards a future orientation. So even though things are still only happening in the now, what can make us feel anxious is that we're like, how long is this going to last? What is this going to mean? What's going to change? How much more do I have to cope with? And we start imagining futures. And then we're asking our nervous system to cope with the enormity of a possible imagined worldwide future. And our poor little nervous system is not adapted to that. And we start to feel some of this, we can feel it in the chest. We can feel these sensations, these shifts of discomfort in the chest. For many of us, it's going to be in the belly. And so you can take one hand to your belly right now and the other hand to the chest. I feel it in my belly, so I'm going to rub my belly. You could also rub your chest. And just close your eyes. You're going to do this in a really soothing way. Feeling that with your natural inhale, an easy inhale, that the belly moves, that the abdomen moves with the inhale. And that with your natural exhale, the belly and the abdomen shrink away from the hand of it. The belly and the abdomen lift. They grow a little fuller with that inhale. And they retreat with the exhale. Very good. And now use your hands to rub your arms and your shoulders. And it's sort of Sesame Street hour here where we, as you rub a body part silently to yourself or out loud, you could say like Sarah's arm, Sarah's hand, but substitute your name. So you're just naming this body part. It's like, oh, this is my shoulder. This is my other shoulder. This is my neck. Ah. And as you're touching that part, you're feeling the moisture level in your skin. You're feeling, if you're on fabric, you're feeling the nap and the weight of the fabric. You can rub your thighs, your knees. You can come to a little bit less formal of a position with the legs out in front of you if this starts to feel good, and be like, yeah, these are my calves. This is my lower leg. You You can rub your feet. These are my feet. These are my toes. This is the space between my toes. And letting your attention get exquisitely focused on exactly where you are right now. This is how the nervous system functions the best. Being focused on what's happening right now. And usually the now, it's not much. Not much is happening. I'm sitting in a room, I'm well fed, I got a decent amount of sleep, I had some breakfast, I had my coffee. You know, again, that's all in the past, but like right now, I don't have any other need. All my needs are met right now. And so this is great. The nervous system loves that, right? It's just acknowledging that in this moment, the problems, the situations are distant and imagined, right? Right now, here's the reality of my physical body in this space. Okay? And so after you've felt your body, your head, your arms, your hands, chest, belly, come back to that quiet, easy seat with your quiet, slow, easy breath and feel. Feel if anything's shifted for you. And now the mind, the ego, will say, but what about? And so you're going to take each one of those but what abouts, and those problems are imagined futures usually, and they're big. They're so big that they make us feel small and powerless and scared and anxious. And so you're invited to take those what if imaginary futures, which feel larger than you, and shrink them. You can even take your hands like I am, big open hands. I'm going to take some of those imaginary futures and shrink them, push them, compress them into a cube. And I'm going to slide it into like a little container, a lovely little box, and I'm going to put it off to the side. And I'm going to notice how I feel. All right, that's 1 degree better. Notice the breath that comes after doing that. And then maybe there's a little tingle sensation, the maybe, but what if, but there's something bigger happening. We're going to take that big thing, bring it up into your hands, this imagined future, shrink it into a compressed box, compress it, put it into a lovely little box or a bottle, then put that off to the side for now. Notice how you feel. Notice the breath that comes when you take large things and make them small. Notice how you become bigger. This is your time in the present that you get to become like the giant of the fairy tales that we grew up with. You get to become bigger and more powerful. Notice how that feels. And then we'll gather that feeling, the feeling that you have now, into the palms of your hands. And you're making a bowl with the hands. And you're holding that precious feeling. And you use your breath more consciously now to draw that feeling into the body. Feel it wash over you. And then bring the hands together at heart center in prayer position and bow the head. All right, let's release the hands down. Let's move a little bit. Noticing, tracking at every point how it feels to shift your position, how it feels to move. And so on the mat here, in table position with the hands in front of the shoulders, circling the body, big, slow, wide, undulating, shifting shapes so that you find a rounded spine, you find a back bend, you find a side bend. You could even lower one shoulder closer to the floor and feel an easy twist. And as you're tracking sensation, as it moves through your body, you can name those parts, like that's my shoulder blade, that's my low back. Now I'm feeling my buttock and the hips. Now I feel my inner thigh. As my hips shift, you'll feel the opposite inner thigh. And give yourself some falling out breaths. I'm going to adjust the camera. You guys keep moving. Give yourself some falling out breaths, which is an inhale through the nose and an exhale through an open mouth. And that open mouth sound, it can be a great. Hopefully the camera will adjust. You guys will be able to see all of me a little bit more. Hi. All right, so you're moving, and as it feels nice, that wide open mouth with an exhale, unhinging your jaw like a great cobra. And then make your way back to child's pose. Becoming still. My head's up so you guys can hear me, but you're resting in child's pose. Instead of the arms outstretched, go ahead and bend the elbows, make a pillow with your hands, rest there. If the floor is too far away, you can stack your fists. And then feel your breath, feel your stillness in child's pose. Very good. And then use your hands, push them into the floor to bring your torso upright. Step one foot forward, push down with your hands into your front thigh and come up to standing. All right. I thought we had figured out the distance from the camera. We'll keep working on this, you guys. Beta testing. All right, great. So now I want to talk about the movement of the breath. So when we find ourselves in that imaginary future, the breath changes. And that's why yogis are obsessed with the breath. By tracking the breath, we track the state of the nervous system. So we breathe differently when we're in a fight or flight nervous state than we do when we're in rest and digest. So we have the rib cage, right? And there's this powerful muscle at the floor of the rib cage. It's like the floor of the lungs. It's the entire floor of the lungs, and it's the roof to your digestive system. And when you inhale, this muscle contracts and pulls down. And as the diaphragm goes down, the lungs and the ribs lift up. So on inhale, you're going to take your hands and mirror what I'm doing. One hand is at the level of the lowest ribs in the front. The other hand is at the collarbones. And as you inhale, both ends move apart away from each other. It's not quite as big in reality, but just to get the sense, it's like an accordion. As you exhale, the accordion gets smaller, the diaphragm lifts, the lungs get smaller, the breath is pushed out. Inhale, you're getting longer, taller. Exhale, you shrink a little bit. So keep practicing this. Inhale, the hands are moving apart. Exhale, your hands move closer together. This is what we're looking to restore in our breath pattern. Now there's lots of other ways to breathe. We also want to breathe out. We're also breathing front to back, but today we're primarily focusing on this accordion movement. Where we get into trouble with the breathing and getting stuck in a fight or flight is when this bottom hand doesn't move. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna imagine that the floor of the lungs doesn't move, just the top hand moves. And you can breathe that way. Your belly will stop moving forward and back, and just the chest lifts, the shoulders lift. And you might say like, okay, well, when just my chest lifts and my belly's not moving at all, that feels comfortable and familiar. And if that's true for you, you're not alone. Many of us have adapted to this kind of shallow chest breathing, and it's especially familiar lately, right? And so this leads to lots of neck and shoulder tension, right? Now feel the difference when you let the diaphragm start to move down and you feel the belly move and the ribs move together. The ribs move, the belly moves. Inhaling, exhaling, inhaling, exhaling. Now, strangely enough, we can get stuck in one more pattern, and that's only belly breathing. So we can get stuck with the chest and the ribs not moving at all, and then the belly just distends with the inhale. So you guys can push your belly out with the inhale and don't move your ribs at all. This makes me feel sick. But for some people, this could be, I'm more familiar with the other pattern, just lifting my chest to breathe and my belly not moving. But some of you may have been trained, like belly breathing's good and chest breathing is bad, and so you went to just belly breathing, and it's sort of disquieting to me. So once you've felt that happening, go ahead and restore the accordion breath, which is the hands move apart, the belly moves out, and the ribs get bigger. Exhale, the hands come closer together. So on your inhale, there's a sensation of the entire torso, all the way around, everywhere I'm touching. All of this gets bigger. You're getting bigger with your inhale, and you're shrinking with the exhale. Bigger with the inhale. Shorter with the exhale. So we're going to continue this kind of accordion awareness, lying down. So go ahead and make your way to the floor. Roll to one side. Come to lying on your back. If your chin is stuck way up in the air and you could fit like a small pumpkin here, you need a blanket for behind the head. You can use your bath towel, right? If on the other hand, many of you, I'm thinking Monica, right, and me, if we use a blanket, I could only fit like a tiny, small little thing here. It's way too close. So I know for sure that she and I don't need the blanket. Okay, so one hand to the belly, one hand to the chest. And we'll start moving in the pelvic tilt. So the low back arches. That means that the low back's not touching the floor and the belly moves towards the ceiling. That's the inhale. As you exhale, you're letting the low back move towards the floor. Inhale, the belly lifts up towards the ceiling. Exhale, the belly flattens. So this is really familiar, so just get that going. This is pretty easy. And what you're feeling as you're doing this, rocking in this motion, is that one hand's on your belly, the other hand's on your chest, and when you arch the back, the hands are moving apart from each other. And on the exhale, the hands come closer together. Inhale. Use your hands to enhance this feeling. The hands are spreading apart. Exhale, the hands you can kind of drag the skin of the chest and the skin of the belly towards each other on that exhale. So this pelvic hand is moving from the pubic bone towards the navel. The chest hand is from the collarbones towards the lower part of the ribs. That's the exhale. And then you drag the skin the other way on the inhale. Go ahead and hold this inhale shape. Continue to breathe. The lower hand is taking the skin of the belly, sliding it towards the pubic bone. And then the top hand is taking the skin of the chest and moving it towards the collarbone. On your next exhale, you're flattening again or moving closer to the floor. Inhale, spreading the hands apart. 2 more on your own. And then let it go. Do nothing. Rest with the knees bent and the feet flat on the floor and feel. What have you shifted just by moving and focusing your attention on what the body's doing? You weren't planning, you weren't remembering, you weren't imagining a future. You were simply in the now, the only place where anything happens. Notice if your breath is slower. Notice if you feel softer and more diffuse. Notice if those compressed boxes of imaginary future have stayed tidily and neatly on their shelves. Very good. Come to Supta Baddha Konasana. The soles of the feet touch, the knees fall open to the sides, the hands come behind the head. And if you were using the blanket underneath your head, the hands directly behind the head are great. If you chose skillfully to not use the blanket, it doesn't work for you. Bring your hands a little lower, closer to the top of the neck. On your inhale, arch the spine. Feel that accordion get big with the inhale. Exhale, accordion gets smaller, curl up, knees close, elbows close. On your next inhale, you lower down, everything opens up, knees, elbows, throat, chest, belly, stretching. Exhale, curl up and close. Follow at the pace of your breath. And imagine that this accordion is powering the movement. Focus on this imaginary accordion getting longer, filling with air. And then as you exhale and curl up, the air leaves the body. I want you to stay with that if that's tricky for you to imagine or feel. And then if you're like, I got it, you're going to curl up, and the next time you curl up, your upper body moves to your right and your knees to your left. So you're in a twist. And then inhale back to center, opening up, same inhale position. Exhale, curl up, second side, upper body left, knees right. Inhaling back to center. And then as you continue alternating sides with this little rotation, the action of your abdominals is increased. And you can feel your accordion twisting like a very cool little paper snake inside of you. I'm imagining my accordion's made of paper. I don't know why. Back to center. Let's do one more time to each side. You guys can always pause, rest, do nothing if my timing doesn't work for you. And this time we're going to release to straight legs, straight arms, breathe and feel. Notice how large the present moment is. I want you to imagine that you've inflated the present moment to be like this big, beautiful bubble of safety, of sacred space. Mine's pink. It's always pink. I don't know why. Yours can be whatever color you want. So white is a beautiful, healing, safe color. So is blue. Any color works. Imagine your bubble is getting larger. This is how much space that I protect from unnecessary feelings, imaginary futures, right? Taking on the whole world's burdens. No, no, no. You're meant to be responsible for yourself, to manage just yourself, to release the attempts to control others, And the yogi shows by example, not by trying to convert. He leads by showing your calmness, your presence, your steadiness. Let's bend both knees, feet to the floor. Roll over to one side. Use your hands to press up to vertical. And then we'll pause. Adjust, feel. And we'll come to standing. One foot comes forward. Pause. And press up to standing. Tadasana pose. Rooting here. If you have your balance, you close the eyes and you let the legs get heavier. And we're going to imagine each foot plunging into the earth, sending a root deep, deep down. And I want you to imagine this vividly so that, let's start with the left foot. So under this left foot, you can kind of move the left foot around so your brain tunes into it. Like, oh yeah, there's a foot there. You could even stomp it a little, like, wake up foot, come on foot. Right? You're my grounding here. This is what's touching the floor. Before it was my whole body, and maybe you felt relaxed there, then you came to standing, you're like, well, I only have like this small narrow area that I'm standing. So the yogi takes her root and sends it down. Right? So I'm imagining this deep, long taproot, like the native plants of Illinois here in the Midwest. Right? You're like, oh, I'm going to take out that like native plant, weed or whatever. And you go to dig it out and it's like, this is a survivor. This plant has a taproot that goes down 4 feet and you just can't like twist it and lift it out. That's the kind of taproot you're working to reestablish for yourself at least once a day. So this taproot under your left foot plunges into the earth. It's breaking through all the rock, going deep, deep, deep down. You can imagine it going down 4 inches, 5 inches, a foot, 2 feet. With your eyes closed, you might even be able to imagine it go a little deeper, 6 feet, 7 feet, 8 feet, 9 feet, 20 feet, 50 feet, half a mile, all the way to the center of the earth. Why not? And as you imagine that, the power of your mind to bring you into presence, to shift the feeling state of your body, you can feel that. Feel the difference between the left leg and the right leg. The whole left side of the body compared to the whole right side of the body. Feel your accordion breath. It might feel quite a bit longer through this whole left side. Lovely. Okay, we're going to shift your attention now to the right foot. And let's go ahead and wiggle that foot around and maybe give it a little stomp, feel. Right, there's that foot, that's my right foot. And then go ahead and plunge its taproot down. So on this side, for me, what I'm visualizing, the ground is a different color, the root is a different color. I'm trying to imagine this as vividly as I can. I'm actually feeling the root break the soil apart, making space, carving its way, finding its way deep, 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 many feet, dozens of feet, half a mile, 50 miles, right? Extending your imagination, your presence, your rootedness as far deep as you want to go, even to the center of the earth. And then notice how very, very still your body has become. How slow your breath has become. How big your sacred bubble that protects you is. How large you can be with this rootedness. Enjoy that feeling as you rotate the arms so that the palms face forward. Follow your breath. This accordion gets longer as you sweep the arms up And then just the arms come down with the exhale. Palms face the floor. The accordion gets smaller. Inhale, lifting. Palms facing up as you rise up, as you circle the arms up. Exhale. The arms by your side. Let's continue the same thing. I'm moving so you can see me from the side. You stay the same. Inhale, the arms come up. This time we're going to sit into Utkatasana, chair pose with the exhale. Inhale, arms up, stand up. Exhale, sit. And so as we leave the arms overhead, follow your breath. Inhale, Tadasana. Exhale, Utkatasana. Can you use the squat position, this chair position, to feel the accordion compress, to feel the core corset in, to feel wrapped and hugged in this exhale. And then your inhale, you feel large and big again. Exhale, hunkering in. One more time, inhale, reaching up. Exhale, this time fold forward, coming all the way forward into Uttanasana, and walk out to downward dog on your mat. Now I'd like you to take a chair pose shape in Utkatasana. So I want you to replicate what you just did in chair pose here. So on your inhale, the whole container gets longer. The xylophone helps the sit bones reach back. It helps the arms reach forward. And on the exhale, you're compressing the abdomen, corseting the abdomen, wrapping your ribs. Inhale, everything gets longer, bigger. Exhale, compress. One more time on your own. And then lower the knees to the floor. Walk the hands forward so you're in a modified plank pose. So if the knees were up, you'd be in a regular plank. Here the knees are down. The hands are fairly wide. They can be just in front of the shoulders. So inhale here, letting the back arch. Exhale, feel the low back. Move a little bit closer to the ceiling and tone. And I want you to find the place, a little pelvic tilt here in your modified plank so that you can feel equal tone in your low back and then across through the abdominals. Abdominals go all the way through the sides of the ribs, all the way down to the pubic bone. So finding equal sensation and then maintain that. Enjoy your accordion inhale here. Exhale, compress the accordion as you lower. Sweep your arms into Sphinx pose. I'll move my items here out of the way. In Sphinx pose, your elbows are in front of the shoulders, not directly underneath, but they're no wider than the broadest outer shoulder. Push down into your hands, bow in, and exhale. Inhale, lifting the chin, pulling isometrically back through the hands, they won't move. Lengthen and stretch the accordion. Exhale, compressing it. Inhale, the accordion's longer. Exhale, it's shorter. Stay with this variation, or you can add on your next inhale, the elbows could lift. They don't lock out, they stay bent. Exhale, forearms down, and lift the pelvis. So this is a little bit more, elbows lifting. On the inhale, pelvis lifting, bowing in on your exhale. And if you only feel pinching in your back, you go back to this first version where the elbows don't lift and the pelvis doesn't lift. And of course, you could do a little bit of both. On your next exhale, lower all the way to the floor. Turn your head to one side and rest. Let your legs relax. Feel the movement of your breath against the floor. Feel how much of your real estate, how much of your ribs move when you breathe, how much of your belly, how much of your abdomen. Do your buttocks move? Does the pelvic bowl move with the breath? Does the low back move with the breath? Does the upper back move? I'm breathing in a way to make it more visually obvious, but it could be quite subtle. No strain. All right, let's bring hands underneath the shoulders. Look at each shoulder. Just having the hands narrow to the body like this drops the shoulder head very far down. This is where we get into trouble with weight bearing, is the closer and the further back, the more the shoulder dips down. And it's pretty hard to get out of that without significant strength in the upper back, which is what we're working on over time. So take the hands a little wide. The hands could even turn in. And before you push up at all, draw the shoulders onto the back. When some of you do that, you'll feel the shoulders glide towards the ears. Not all of you, just some of you. If they did that, draw them away from the ears, bow and lift the belly and the ribs and hover. The shoulders haven't dipped back down, they've stayed up. Use your breath. We're gonna use an exhale to help push up to hands and knees. So inhale, do nothing, exhale, push. Back up to table pose. Rest in child's pose, again with that pillowing of the hands. So instead of reaching out, get small. I'm sitting up, but you'll stay in child's pose. Release your head all the way down. Feel the breath moving your spine naturally, all by itself. The hands are already on the floor, so they're in a great position to push down, to lift your torso up to vertical. Sit upright. Step the right foot forward. Use your hands, again, pushing down into the thigh to activate the core. You'll feel that as you push, you don't need to round to do this. You could stay fairly straight, maintaining the lumbar curve as you push down, and that will help you tuck the back toes under. Lift the back knee, give it a little bend, rock back and forth, and then step forward. Switch your hand to the other thigh. You can also place the other hand on top. It doesn't matter which hand is on top. Push down until, so I'm now putting the weight onto my left foot and I'm lifting my right heel up. And by finding a steady gazing point with my eyes and my head centered over my left foot, I can step that right foot back into a high lunge. Bend the back knee, rock forward and back. This might be a really small movement for you, or it could be bigger. Steady gazing point with the eyes, step forward. Shift the hands again to the right thigh, and the head has shifted over. I'll show you from this view. The head should be in line with the front leg. Okay, so not the back leg and not even in the middle, because then the hip tends to kick out. Let your head center. You might be able to see your own view of yourself in your screen. Your eyes are aligned with the front heel. And then you can step that foot forward and back and forward and back. Now this might be one or two moves, it might be a few. What you are also noticing and seeing is that this front knee that your hands are on, the knee isn't wagging side to side. If you feel that happening, turn the whole foot out slightly so you can access control in your glute a little bit better. All right, back up into Utkatasana. You should feel the legs working at this point. Sitting down, push down with the hands. Feel the weight shift into that left foot. Notice that my head is aligned with this foot, one eye on either side of the foot. You're looking for that same thing in your body. And now the other leg is free to go back and forth. I'm not shifting my weight, my whole body. I'm just moving the leg freely over a static, stable, unwavering front leg. One more time. Good. Arms circle up, sitting into Utkatasana again. Feel the legs and the muscles working. Those are your thighs, those are your glutes, those are your hamstrings, those are your inner thighs. And then without moving the feet, isometrically stretch them apart, rising up. Exhale, release your arms. I'm stepping back so you can see all of me. All right. Stay rooted in your Tadasana. Feel the tap root through the left leg. If you lost connection to it, make sure that your knees aren't locked back and your hips aren't shifted forward. So the knees bend, hips rock back. Feel that. So you can feel the root a little bit better there. Now that the breath may have picked up for you from doing those high lunges, the accordion movement of the lungs, the diaphragm, the entire core, getting longer with the inhale, compressing with the exhale. That might be more palpable for you now. And for several of you, I'm sure that you guys are feeling the pelvic floor goes down with the diaphragm and rises up with the diaphragm. So on the inhale, diaphragm goes down, pelvic floor goes down. On the exhale, they both go up. If you're not feeling that, give that some time, that'll come later. Okay, so now we're gonna walk the hands to the lowest ribs. We're still standing in Tadasana, and you can look at my picture if you're not seeing me so that you can see where I'm touching. I'm looking to feel the bony edges of the rib cage. I'm finding those, and I'm gonna walk my hands down and feel the bony edges, the top rim of the pelvis. And then in between the bottom of the ribs and the top of the pelvis is this soft squishy material, which is where I want your hands to go. So we're gonna take the right hand with the palm down. You can experiment with the palm up. It's really personal preference here. But we're gonna take the hand sideways into that space and start to side bend. Unlock the knees, shift the weight to the heels. This long side here is stretching where your hand is digging in, that shortening. And you're imagining your hands are being moderate with this pressure. You can just do this a little, or you could go ahead and plunge in. And you're feeling and moderating the sensation. Okay, so without moving the feet, they isometrically spread apart, like you're stretching the feet apart, and that will bring you back up to center. Release the arms, breathe and feel. Noticing any shifts, especially through the sensation of the breath and sensation of the core on both sides. Okay, so for the second side, I like palm down, but you could try fingers up. It's below the bony rib and above the bone of the pelvis. We go straight in from the side, and even just pushing there creates the side bend. We're trying to get the lumbar spine to yield. Sometimes the lumbar spine forgets how to side bend. If you have scoliosis, you'll have a really different experience on each side. So I just want you to note that. I'd rather you plunge your hands into the thicker, more resistant side. Okay, so you could always go back to the other side if that's that side for you. Otherwise, the rest of us are just feeling here sometimes very intense sensation of release through the abdominals and the structures of the side body here. Make sure the knees are unlocked, the weights are in your heel. Spread the mat apart with your feet to come back to vertical. Release your hands. Whew, that's a lot clearer and freer breath for me. Notice if that's true for you. Okay, so here's where we need the blanket or your bath towel. So go ahead and grab that. Depending on the thickness of what you have and depending on what you can tolerate, we'll be making a long, thin roll. And this roll will be going into, again, that space below the ribs and just above, let's see, let's have it somewhere in this range from the belly button to the pubic bone. This is going to be different depending on how your forward fold style. So what we're going to do here is sit into Utkatasana and see if we can hold the blanket roll here. And if you tend to have like a really big arch, you might have to go with a much fatter roll. If you're like, I could hold this all day, it's no problem. You go with a fatter roll to reduce some of that overarching. Some of you tend to go into the pose this way. And if you're seeing that in your own video here, if you're like, oh yeah, this is really rounded, I want you to stay with the thin roll and let your tailbone release back. So you're hinging at the hips. Okay, so this is going to be your inhale position. I should say that if you're pregnant or trying to get pregnant, you're not using the roll today. If you're menstruating, this might not feel good either. But if you're not in one of those two categories, give this a try, see how it works for you. So this will be the inhale position, more or less a perpendicular shin. As you exhale, you're going to lift your butt up towards Uttanasana. Your hands can walk out, the head hangs down. And then inhale, you slide back in. And the goal is not just to straighten the legs, because many of you will lose your roll. I want you to keep the roll. And what you're feeling here is as you inhale, we're going to help the chest open a little bit more with the breath. And as you exhale, the blanket, it's not so much about the Uttanasana, it's about the pressure of the blanket to hollow and empty, right? So we get a better, fuller, more complete exhale. Inhale into chair. Exhale into your version of Uttanasana. So you're going to keep going at whatever pace works for you. You could pause, you could hold, you could take a break, but make sure that as the legs move towards straight, as the butt lifts up a little bit, that the belly is hollowing. Make more space for the blanket and close the torso closer to the thighs. And when we back up in chair, our friend chair, and bring the arms overhead. Hollow the belly on the exhale, almost like sucking the blanket in towards the navel. And then we'll release the arms, stretch the mat apart with your feet to come up to standing. Put the blanket down. Breathe and feel. Slow your breath. Make it even and smooth. All right, so back in Tadasana, I'm turning to face the camera so you can see we're going to do a side bend. So inhale, rotate the arms so the palms face forward. The arms sweep up. As you exhale, the left hand grabs a hold of the right wrist and we side bend. Now hold here. You can unlock the knees, shift the weight to the heels, and feel the curved shape of the accordion. Feel how the long side here, those folds and bends in the accordion can open up a little more, while the shorter compressed side stays short and compressed. Emphasize the inhale on your long side and feel and enhance the exhale on the short side. Very good. We're going to use the feet stretching the mat apart. That brings you upright. Release the arms and feel what you've changed. Feel what's shifted. Knees unlocked. Weight in the heels. Wonderful. On your next inhale, sweep the arms overhead again. This time we grab the other wrist, side bend, second side, feeling here that the knees don't lock back. The weight stays in your heels. Emphasize the inhale on the long side, imagining the folds and pleats of your accordion opening up, the space between the ribs, that lift of the ribs enhanced, trained. The yogi trains the breath. The yogi learns from the breath. And we feel the body respond to our intention. And we learn from when it gives us resistance and it says no. So we're feeling this openness on this side, and we're also feeling the capacity of the ribs to narrow, of the lumbar spine to side bend, of the capacity of the abdominal muscles here in the side body to create compression, to have a more complete exhale. Of course, this is quite exaggerated because it's a side bend. That's the value of the pose. Spread the feet isometrically apart, and that lifts you up. Float the arms down. Come into a space of utter stillness. Softness. Largeness. With the knees unlocked and the weight in the heels, check back in with your tap roots. See how they've maybe grown little tendrils, little baby roots out from the main giant tap root. That rootedness shifts the attention away from the thinking mind, the what if, worst case scenario, imagining, pushing that kind of mind away. It's less helpful. We want to use the mind for simple tasks. You guys might be noticing that over the past week or so, you feel better if you're absorbed in a task. And where you get into trouble is like, oh, you just wake up and you, nothing exactly to focus on, or right when you try to fall asleep and you start imagining futures. The brain's like, I have you now, because you're not focused on a task, right? And I'm just gonna fill and clog your space with imaginary scenarios that are impossible, literally impossible, for the mind to solve. The problem of suffering is not solved on the level of the mind, it's solved in the body. This is what the Hatha yogis discovered. Feel if that's true for you, even just to a small degree. All right, very good. So we'll come to seated now. So we'll have the legs out in front of you in Dandasana, the staff pose. I like bent knees here for everyone, but when you bend your knees, instead of just bending them, I want you to manually do it. So you're manually bending the knees. You kick both heels down. And for those of you that tend to round back, as you kick down, pull back. But for those of you that don't do that, you know, you're not sitting on your buttocks, you're already on the sit bones. If you pull back through your heels, you might feel a pinch here. So those of you who are feeling that, you're invited to push your heels isometrically away. You're not locking the knees out straight, okay? So just see how this works for you. Now both hands come to either side of the hips and slightly back. As soon as the arms go behind you, the shoulders tend to go forward. Bend the elbows, lift the shoulders, roll them back. Feel how much length you can get in the side body here. And then we'll take your left hand even a little further behind you and the right arm up. Make sure the heels are kicking down into the floor, and we're gonna add the isometrically spread apart. It's like your heels are trying to go wider, but you're not letting them. Keep that action as you take your right arm to the outside of your left knee and start to twist. So we're not doing the deeply bent version because we're trying to keep maximum length in the front body here. As we twist, remember that both feet are spreading. The back hand is peeling the shoulder back. The left shoulder blade is getting closer to the spine, and the right shoulder blade is getting farther away from the spine. Now imagine your accordion twisting. Notice if the top end of your accordion is behind the pelvis. You might be able to feel that better than you can see it. For some of you, it'll be more forward, and you feel some pinching in the upper back. Anywhere you're pinching, that's the place in your back that you're arching too much. So get a little fuller in any pinched areas. 2 more breaths. Feel that last exhale. And then release back to center, do nothing. Okay, reinvigorate the legs, push down through the heels, drag back through the heels if that works for you. And then this time the right hand comes behind you. Just let it be there. Look at that shoulder head. It tends to be in line with the breast or the front tissue. And what we'd like you to do here is move your right shoulder blade closer to your spine. That'll start to turn your upper body, but we're not going into the full twist yet. Look straight ahead between your feet. Kick down, again, emphasizing the work of the back of the leg, which will support the spine. Stretch your left arm up. Inhale. Accordion gets longer. Exhale, twist. Left hand to the outside of your right knee. Continue to breathe here. I want the right knee to try to push the hand away, but the hand resists. So there's a push-pull kind of action there. The feet continue to be active, spreading apart. And feel your breath spiraling through your accordion. Feel how movable your accordion is. See how vertical you can keep your accordion so it's not popping out in the middle. It's not popping out in the back. Can you get your head and the top of the accordion right over your pelvis? Two more breaths. Emphasize the exhale. Let the inhale be spontaneous. And then just soften to come back to center. Take whatever position you'd like to just feel. Very good. I'm going to make your way onto your back. If you need the blanket for your head, have that close by. And this is when we need the pillow. And if you want to use the washcloth is going to be for placing the hands over the eyes. And I know some of us were trying to avoid, getting stuff in the eyes, so the germs in the eyes. So the washcloth helps. I've got wipes right to suggest that if you felt like, I'm just going to wipe my hands clean first and then handle the washcloth, that's available to you. Right? Simple things. Simple ways we've all adapted. So you're going to lie on your side, roll onto your back, having those various props nearby. And then I want you to feel the pubic bone with your fingers. So the pubic bone, bony prominence below the navel. And with your exhale, drag that skin of the pubic bone towards the navel. As you drag that skin, the low back will release towards the floor. You don't have to, it's just let that action of dragging the skin do it. On the inhale, let the skin move, a little push of the skin towards the pubic bone. Exhale, pull. Pubic bone skin towards the navel. Right, and then inhale, we're arching again. Widen the hands so that the hip crease area. On your exhale, drag that skin towards the navel. On the inhale, letting it move back. Hands to the hip points, the bony prominences, hip point bones, AS-IS bones. On your next exhale, you'll drag the skin just inside of there towards the navel with your exhale. That doesn't even have to move the spine. Inhale, pull from the navel out towards the hip points. Okay, and the hands are going to travel up a little bit further towards the the midsection here. So we're above the pelvis, below the ribs. On your exhale, you'll drag that soft skin towards the navel with your exhale. And then on your inhale, pull and widen there. And then let the fingers come up under the costal arch here, these ribs. You can kind of curl your fingers under the rib cage bone, right? And sometimes it feels like impossible to get your fingers there. This is a good task over the next few months, is to work on being able to slide your fingers softly, gently in between, right, the rib cage and the surfaces in this bowl here, the abdominal bowl. So once you've hooked your fingers there, on your inhale, let that area gently widen, pulling the skin wide. Exhale, narrow the ribs. Let the rib cage flatten to the floor as you do that. And then instead of letting the ribs pop up with this next inhale, just let the ribs open. So we're feeling that you don't have to arch the back to get your inhale. The ribs can still widen. All right, very good. And then you're going to take your hands, and again, if you're pregnant or trying to get pregnant, you can instead kind of focus on the upper chest, focus on, bring the arm into goalpost, use the other hand to massage the chest muscles, the upper inner arm, exploring those areas a little bit more. Same thing, I feel like if you're menstruating, this can actually be really helpful to spend some time in the pelvic bowl, but do what's comfortable for you. So over the last few minutes here together, I want you to imagine this pelvic bowl as an upside down turtle shell, an empty turtle shell. And it's a beautiful, gorgeous turtle shell, right? And inside of that turtle shell that's been turned upside down, right? So the opening is towards the ceiling. Inside of that is all your lovely organs and your digestive system. And I want you to just drag and peel some of the skin away from the edge of the bowl. So the skin gets deeply adhered. The structures underneath get stuck. And we're just kind of gently peeling away, feeling the edges of this bowl as you travel around. Now, some areas might feel very tender, and you're in charge of not being coercive or aggressive. You're soft, you're exploratory, you're curious. You can travel all the way around the edge of this bowl. So I did this for like half an hour last night. So when I woke up at 2:55 a.m. and my brain was like, let's start thinking about things, I instead went to this abdominal massage, which then helped get me into my body enough. It freed up my breath, got me back into a healthier breath pattern so I could fall back asleep. Okay, so you might spend quite a bit of time just working these edges. And then over time, over the next few days and weeks and months, you could use your fingers kind of like, I don't know, my mom used to bake bread, and I used to want to like poke the bread when she was letting it rise. And she's like, don't touch it, right? And so, but you can kind of use your fingers and imagine like, oh, I'm just going to poke my fingers into that dough ball. Like how fun, that texture. And so have fun here exploring this texture, massaging around. And then after you've given that some time, and this is really worthy of a good 20 to 30 minutes of exploration, but for now, let's go to place the pillow on the abdominal bowl. So if you don't have a pillow, you can use your blanket, and just the weight of your hands, the weight of your arms on that pillow, it can be very, very soothing. And then this is the time if you'd like to wipe your hands with a wipe, or maybe have some hand sanitizer. And again, right, it's just a suggestion, whatever, it's just to help you feel more comfortable with contacting the eyes, your own eyes. So I'm gonna wipe my hands with the wipe. And then place that off to the side and let it air dry, because that's how it works. Shaking my hands, feeling the weight of the pillow on my belly, right? Wiping our hands and cleaning our hands has become the new normal, right? Not a big deal. I'm gonna take my glasses off, put them off to the side. And now the washcloth that you have is to provide a barrier between the hand and the eyes. But if you just sanitize your hands, it may not be necessary, okay? Washcloth goes over the eyes, and the heels of your hands are perfectly shaped. I'd love to know if this was an in utero position. They're perfectly shaped to rest on the eyelids and to just feel, I'm not pushing down. It's the natural weight of my arms and the heels of my hands to just enclose the eyes in a deeper shade of darkness. People who have meditated, you know, the yogis over thousands of years have come to associate the color that you might now be seeing as a divine shift, as a shift to the more eternal you, the watcher, not so much the reactor, right? The one who observes, the unchanging you. And this color that you might be seeing here now is this blue-black. It's lovely. Enjoy the color. Sometimes when I do this, I see sparks and sparkles of light. You can let those shift in and out of your attention. You can also feel that with the soothing weight of the pillow on your belly and the soothing weight of the heel of the hand over each eye, that you come into a state of deep stillness. Deep rest. Feel your eyes retreating to the back of the skull. The internal gaze might shift downwards. Some of you seasoned meditators, it might lift towards the third eye. Anywhere your gaze wants to rest or fall, let it. Just trust it. Don't boss your nervous system around. Let it start to lead you. Now that you've wringed out some tension and explored some capacity and restored the rest and digest phase of your nervous system, let it guide you. Just let it take hold of its hand and let her show you deep rest. Your body gets, this is your little shavasana here. I'm going to end the session and you're invited to stay. You're invited to release the legs straight if that would feel nicer on your back. You can release the hands out to the sides, but if you prefer that weight on your eyes, keep it there as long as the nervous system invites you to. Let the earth hold you. You are a child of the earth. Let yourself be soothed by your breath. Let every sensation you have soothe the body. Resting here deeply in Shavasana, stay as long as you like. Thank you for joining me today and this morning. My thoughts are with you. Namaste.